Okay, welcome to the 16th episode of the Mayor's Mixtape. I'm Haley Sue Robinson, Director of Public Affairs.
City of Pueblo Mayor Heather Graham.
And my name is Sarah Money. I'm the Manager of Recovery Services with SafeSide.
So we have another guest on the podcast today. Very excited about that. Just want to remind everyone you can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube. You can also rewatch it on local government channel 17. There are lots of opportunities to listen to this podcast. Share it with your friends and family. And don't forget that you have the opportunity to submit questions or topics. You can email us, mayor@pueblo.us. So the reason we have a guest on the show this morning is last night City Council approved the award to SafeSide Recovery Foundation.
Finally.
Yeah. It feels like that. The contract for the shelter operations and the use of the facilities located at 710 West 4th Street and 728 West 4th Street, known as the Pueblo Shelter campus. Mayor, before we jump into things with Sarah, can you walk us through a bit of the timeline with the RFP process and also what it looked like to get us to this point with an operator for Pueblo Shelter?
Sure. So I think that the demise of the shelter started back in October, where the previous board had come to community members essentially saying, it was like a Wednesday, by Saturday, we're going to have to close the shelter. We've run out of funding. We don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have a lot of unhoused individuals out on the streets. They called a community meeting together. At that time, the city stepped in and allocated some emergency funding to help with the shelter and help with the operations, and acquired back the 710 and the 728 building. Our partners at SafeSide Recovery were renting an office space at the shelter at the time, and they came aboard with the city to help us continue to provide services and not really have any hiccups in the process until now. And so at the beginning of the year, I took a proposal to City Council. City Council was kind of, there was a couple different directions that they maybe wanted to go. They maybe wanted to have the city run the shelter and create an entire city department, but that's not really the city's specialty, not something that we're capable of doing and providing the behavioral health services and programming services in general. And so my proposal to City Council was we would create an RFP on things that we were looking for a shelter provider. We visited the shelter in Colorado Springs Rescue Mission, to kind of see what they did and really mimicked what we want our shelter in the city of Pueblo to look like after Colorado Springs. And so created an RFP. Took a while to get the RFP out, to get the applicants to apply. So we had several interested parties. None of the other parties except for SafeSide were 100% applicable to take over the shelter. And so after lots of back and forth and many trips to City Council with the proposal last night, the RFP finally passed. And so SafeSide will run the shelter through the end of this year. And it's a 12-month RFP, so 6 months into next year. And then we'll revisit and reevaluate and see how it's going, and probably enter into another agreement next June. So,
so this is the beginning of a long-term partnership.
Yeah, we've had some great successes. The emergency shelter has run every single night since October. Mm-hmm. That's not something that the city did previously. With the last administration or city managers before, it would be kind of more of a pop-up venue that when it was real cold, they were able to open and have emergency shelter. SafeSide and the staff at the rescue mission were able to operate it every night in October. And then we were like, okay, I think that this needs to stay open. SafeSide said this needs to stay open, every night from now on. So it took to City Council, no more emergency ordinances. It's up to SafeSide and the operator of the shelter how often they want to open. And so it's been open every single night. And on the really cold days that we had in December and January, it was open 24/7. So that's changed. We've also brought alongside another partner that will be at the shelter every Thursday from 1 to 4, Pueblo Community Health Center, and they're going to be providing urgent care, primary care, and behavioral health services. So last Thursday was our grand opening.
Their pop-up clinic.
Of the pop-up clinic, and it was a success, and we hope that they're able to help additional residents and unhoused individuals who need treatment. And then we're also working, the 710 building has several different office spaces, and so we're looking at bringing other partners within the community to come and entertain a few hours every day to perform different resources and programming to different clients.
Sure. So since we're on the topic of partnerships, this is kind of like a two-part question. Sarah, maybe you can talk to the external partnerships, and then Mayor, maybe you can talk about like kind of the inner workings of the city departments and what that partnership has looked like for the Pueblo Shelter. Sarah, you want to go first?
Sure, I'll dive right in.
Okay.
So, as the mayor said, there's been a lot that has gone on with the shelter and with SafeSide. I joined SafeSide in March, and I'm so grateful to be a part of the new future and where we're going. I've been in Pueblo for just over 5 years, and it's been really important to me in my time here to work with all of the community partners that we can in order to make our community better. And so, now that I have joined SafeSide, we're building new partnerships, and I've been able to carry over some of the partnerships that I had formerly built, which has been really, really cool. Really what we envision our shelter being with the support of the city is full wraparound services, a one-stop shop for people who are unhoused. It would help alleviate so many barriers for those in our community that struggle with transportation or just not knowing where to go. If we can direct them to a single point and say, hey, you can get your medical needs taken care of, we can talk about employment, we can help you get into housing, and we can give you a safe place to stay. The opportunities are endless. Those are just some of the options that we have. It's been really exciting over the last couple of months. We've seen the community want to be a part of what the shelter is doing. And so we've been working with some other local recovery organizations. We've been working with different kind of resource providers to be able to really connect our folks with resources and help build back the trust that our unhoused population has lost from the shelter. We recognize that's happened, and kind of the more we can do to show that we're a place to be trusted, we're a place that's here to help, I think the better off we all are. Yeah, absolutely. And Mayor, can you kind of walk us through what it's been like since the city took over the shelter, and maybe some of the transformation of the space and kind of conversation that we've had with community partners?
So the 710 building, which was the building that we were doing the emergency shelter in, our
it's public, the big U-shaped building.
The big U-shape, yeah. Our public works department has been very helpful, and we have new flooring, we have new paint, we had a dryer that needed to be hooked up and a washing machine. So they came in and right away, it's one phone call and they're there to help and do the labor and get what needs to be done and upgraded and up to code at the shelter. So Public Works has been fantastic. I have Melissa Cook, who's our housing administrator. She is the individual who wrote the RFP, who's kind of the brains behind putting the shelter together and what that could look like, and different funding sources and grants that we can apply to continue the shelter for years to come. We have, who else? Who am I missing? Haley Sue?
Our community services
division.
Yeah,
community service, Mike Purdy. He's our shelter liaison. He really he goes out and works with different community partners and is able to find food and whatever the shelter needs. He does plumbing work sometimes of the shelter. I mean, it's really just a call.
He's kind of a jack of all trades.
He's kind of a jack of all trades, and so he's helped a lot. So there's a really good partnership right now between the city and SafeSide. The operations of the shelter. So we're very fortunate to have, city employees who care about the unhoused, and if I need something, I make one call. It's there. Also in the area where we're doing the clinic, Urban Renewal Authority donated some of the furniture that it's being used.
That's fantastic.
So shout out to Pueblo Urban Renewal and their board for donating some of the furniture that's being used in there. It's really excited. So people want to do good in the community, and when you see something good like this happening, partners show up, and we're very thankful for that.
And I think one thing that is unique, we heard a lot of this, I think, at the beginning of your tenure here with the mayor's office, is that there was sewer line work that needed to be done and repair work that needed to be done, and it was taking so long. And so one thing, now that the city has taken over, like you spoke, you can just make a phone call and that repair work is done right away. There's no, do we go out for a contract and we wait for the bid, and does the shelter have enough money to do the repair work, and will we make payroll? And those were the struggles before that the community was hearing, and now
we can focus on programming and providing services.
Exactly. So speaking of programming and services, Sarah, can you talk to us a little bit about what makes SafeSide unique and kind of the mission of SafeSide Recovery?
Yeah. SafeSide Recovery is, I just have to say, one of the best organizations I've worked for in my tenure so far. We are a statewide peer support organization, and so we're embedded kind of all around the state in different settings. We work at the Colorado Springs Rescue Mission, so I've been spending some time up there helping out our peer coaches. We also have some sober living further up north in the state. We work in some drop-in centers and really just provide peer support. We fill some gaps that are not currently being filled when we're talking about recovery or, working with individuals who are coming off the streets. What I love about peer support is it's really people who have been there, people who have walked that life, people who have been unhoused, people who are in recovery from substance use disorder or in recovery from mental health conditions. And so, it's really unique compared to working with a therapist or working with, a life coach. It's someone who has been there and said, hey man, I've done this, you can do it too. I'm here to hold your hand and get you there. And, more and more, I've seen the beauty of peer support, and we hear it from our residents. So some of the things that we do here locally, it's similar to what we do in our other locations, but we run groups throughout the week. We have, I think, a total of 12 groups currently that are for our residents. We talk about things like healthy communication, like relapse prevention, emotional regulation, healthy boundaries, and really try to provide the skills that people are looking for. I run an employment group too, and that has started to get a lot more popular. We have one-on-one coaching that's available for all of our residents. And really, if you're working one-on-one with someone, that's the best way to show, hey, I care about you, I see you. Let's move forward when you're ready. Starting this week, we actually added case management. So that's a new direction we're going in. It is. It was present at the shelter before and dropped off for a bit. What I'll say, we are the first location that SafeSide is starting case management. So we're kind of using the Pueblo Shelter to trial it and then expand it across the state. I think we have a lot of opportunities like that here locally. We have a great team statewide. We all support each other. We all look out for each other. And if someone's, struggling, it's like, hey, take the week off. Like, we really want you to be in a good place where you can come back and work with clients in the way you need. As we're moving forward, I'll just throw out some teasers. One of our new directions is to provide more outreach support. We know that we have our residency program and we also have our outreach shelter. And providing, direct outreach to the individuals that are staying at our outreach shelter, maybe not quite ready to get into the residency program. Maybe they have some hesitation or some questions. Really supporting our outreach clients is how we're going to move forward and help them take that next step. We're talking with some other agencies around town that don't have peer support to be able to maybe host some groups there. A lot of opportunities. And, the work that we're doing is not just internal inside the shelter. I'm really grateful that we're expanding further outside because, again, that's going to help build the trust with our unhoused community as well as with community partners and just the community in general. I know a lot of trust was broken, and that's one big thing that we find really important as SafeSide is to be transparent, to be open, and to really be that solid community partner that we've needed.
Sure. And you both have touched on this kind of throughout, is that trust piece. I know there was a lot of upheaval with public perception, and there was also a point after October when a lot of clients said, I don't feel comfortable going to the Pueblo Shelter. It's not a place that I actually think is a safe place for me. So let's talk a little bit about what it has been like to build back that trust and what it looks like to move forward, because we know that that's not just inherent now that SafeSide is awarded the contract.
It's definitely not. And it's been a challenge, but not as big of a challenge as I anticipated, honestly. Today's actually my 3-month anniversary working at SafeSide, which, perfect timing to be here. Thank you. My work previously was really with folks that are struggling with some substance use and housing insecurity. And so, as I was preparing to transition over, I was letting people know, hey, I'm about to go start working at the shelter. And what was really cool, we had folks coming for our outreach meal at 4:30 that had never been there before that said, I heard you were here, and that's why I wanted to come. And there is no bigger honor in my mind that, we can rebuild trust, and we are people who are trusted. I work with a lot of community advocates. We all do at SafeSide. It's not just about the work that I'm doing, but, our community advocates have been great at spreading the message about saying like, hey, connect with Sarah. Hey, this is what's changed down there. Hey, go talk to this person at the shelter. Word spreads pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And once residents and outreach clients started to see a change, they started communicating that across the board as well. I actually had someone about a month ago come up, and she's in recovery now, looks fantastic. I almost didn't recognize her. And she had come by the shelter, stayed as an outreach client for a good period of time. And what she said when I saw her was, people on the streets are talking about you, and they're talking about the shelter, and people are more comfortable going there. I'm seeing less people lingering around. And that blew me away.
That's great.
It shouldn't be hard to build trust.
Sure.
If you show up and you're genuine and you're honest and you see people as humans, it's not tough. And people have every reason not to trust the shelter because of the history. We understand that. And so, we all take the time to really talk with all of our outreach clients, to work with our residents, and we've seen a difference. Our residents have seen a difference, and they've communicated that. We've had a lot more people interested in residency. We've also had a lot of people move out into permanent housing that are now, either through the voucher system or because they're fully employed and they're able to afford an apartment.
That's fantastic.
And so, it's becoming a really beautiful thing. And, as we continue to do the work, as we continue to show up and be that genuine, honest, reliable partner, I know the trust will only continue to build.
Absolutely. And Mayor, I know one thing that was really important to you or something that a lot of folks talked to you about was the current staff at the shelter and what that transition looked like. A lot of folks were very concerned that if SafeSide came in, that everyone would be fired or everyone would lose their jobs, or what does that look like for the folks that currently worked at the shelter? And that was a big priority for you.
Yeah, I think, we didn't want to see a lot of turnover. I think that the individuals who are there at the shelter every day, they build relationships and rapport. And so to come in and have a new entity running and, starting from ground zero, I think that could have been very difficult for the residents that were at the shelter at the time. And I think that it's the relationships that those individuals have made is why the shelter is as successful as it is now. There's trust and there's relationships, and it's like a big family over there. If anybody ever wants to go and stop by for a meal or play a game or just
jam out,
hang out and talk.
It's an open door policy. And
totally.
There's an opportunity. I know Rob has outreached and said, stop by Safeside Saturdays,
right,
which is the outreach day. And it feels, they get food trucks or they have hot dogs, and it feels more like a community outreach event rather than just, hey, this is unique to just the shelter and nobody else can come type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have something really cool to share about that, actually.
Okay.
So we took a bit of a break from SafeSide Saturday and are relaunching actually starting this Saturday. What we had kind of discussed among the peer coaches is, what if we cut it down to once a month and really work to make it a more sustainable event? And we work with other community agencies, maybe rotate around town. And, we talked with some other partners. That is still a goal. However, when we announced that we only want to do it once a month, or, that's our goal, once a month, we had residents saying, why? Why? We want to do it every other week. We'll show up to volunteer. It's not a problem. We'll be there. And so, yesterday at our residents meeting, I shared, hey, we're going to do it twice a month. Y'all gave your feedback, we heard you, and this is what we're going to do. And they're really excited. And so what we're doing moving forward, the second Saturday of the month is always, I don't want to say low key, but, we have our donations, we have food, we have resources that we're connecting people with. And then the fourth Saturday of the month, we're going to be working with community partners and inviting them onto our property and really hopefully connecting people with the resources that they might not be connected to currently. One exciting partnership we have is with DHS, and we've had folks from DHS showing up on site when we need, and just to come and hang out. They know that we have folks that need to talk to them, so they'll drop by when they have a chance. They dropped off some backpacks and other donations last week. And so, it's about coming together and being the best that we can. And I think by having that event once a month, it's not going to be overburdensome on our local community providers. And that's something a lot of us struggle with. There's more than enough work to go around.
Sure. So it's preserving that burnout, but then meeting the needs of what the residents have asked for.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Great. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We're very excited that Safeside is now officially the operations manager and oversight of the Pueblo Shelter. So thank you so much for joining us today.
And if, our viewers, I know you're doing the Pueblo 1000 right now. So if our viewers would like to donate to the shelter, how can they go about doing that?
Oh gosh, I should know the website right off the top of my head.
We can list the information in with the podcast, but it's through the SafeSide Foundation because it is an established nonprofit, and so folks can feel safe about donating. And there's different donation levels: $25, $50. You can do a one-time donation or a reoccurring, but we'll make sure that we include that information in our link and in the show notes for those of you who are just listening and maybe not watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thanks again, Sarah. All right, so Mayor, last night, City Council kind of went late. But one thing that, as far as a City Council recap, one thing that was discussed in the work session was potential upcoming ballot measures.
Sure.
And I know this is something that we've kind of briefly discussed previously, but can you walk us through what that timeline looks like and what folks can expect moving forward?
Sure. So any city councilor or mayor can try to pass an ordinance to place something on the ballot. So we heard five different ballot proposals last night on different topics that city council would like to propose. So the direction at this point now is we're going to have a work session on June 30th. Where each city councilor will make their proposal about their respective ballot issue and language. It'll then go on first reading.
Okay.
And then, second reading, and then the city council will vote on the ordinance to place the ballot issue on the ballot for November. And so all of that has to be completed by September 5th. Okay. So I would imagine we'd start to see those ordinances come late July, and then in August. The city also is going to be running a couple different charter amendments. We're going to talk tax proposal in July, and then we're also going to talk about a potential sales tax share to incentivize new businesses to come into the city is one of my proposals that I'm going to be bringing forward. So you'll see those coming up.
And that June 30th, you know, folks at home might be like, okay, why June 30th? But it's the fifth Monday. So
right, so normally, it wasn't scheduled.
Yeah, normally we cancel the fifth Monday, but there was a lot of discussion during the work session of like, hey, we should invite some folks for a work session, and it kind of felt like we were stacking. And so at one point, one of the counselors said, hey, maybe we should just have a special work session. And then someone said, why don't we just do the fifth Monday? So we'll see that at the end of June. And also when you talk about ordinances coming forward, that's to approve the ballot language, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so they're voting on the ballot language.
Yep.
But then it will go
to a vote of the people in November.
Okay. So it's not like once that ordinance passes, it's signed, sealed, delivered like a regular ordinance.
Yeah.
The only thing they're voting on is the actual language.
Yep. Community will have to vote on it.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know. It was a pretty late night.
It was a good night. I think that there was lots of good conversations last night between city council members. I was appreciative of decisions that they made last night, especially supporting the shelter. That's something that we've all been working very hard on.
Yeah.
And so thank you to all 7 city councilors for
it was a unanimous
your continued support
7-0
with the shelter. There's times that we all, don't agree, but that's one thing that I'm glad that we were able to agree on last night. So
absolutely. And, I think another thing that we saw last night too was, although there was, some discussion back and forth, whether it be at the work session or during the regular meeting, folks came to consensus last night in a lot of things. And we had a lot of folks come forward for public comment or for public hearings. It felt like municipal government at its finest, right?
A very interactive city council meeting last night. So Ted Freeman's back.
He is back. Yeah, Ted's back. So that's good. Absolutely. Okay, well, we try and keep these relatively...
We do have one more announcement, though.
Okay, tell us.
Councilwoman Maestri, has received a lot of phone calls, as I'm sure all council people have, about the fireworks situation.
Oh, sure.
In the city. And so she asked that we remind people that we have ordinances in place that limit the sale of fireworks and the use of fireworks and the type of fireworks. And, she asked me to recite the law. And, the law is it shall be unlawful in the city for any person to possess any fireworks or to offer sale, expose for sale, or have in his or her possession with intent to offer sale, use, or explode any fireworks. And so I don't know what they've been shooting off lately, but I mean, they sound like crazy bombs.
Yeah. I hear it at my house.
Councilor Gomez says dynamite, and I agree. I believe it. I mean, it's
like M80s or something.
It's out of control. I mean, we all want to celebrate America and
Totally.
freedom on
Yep.
the 4th of July. You know, today is June 10th. So, you know, please hold your fireworks until the appropriate time. I'm down 90 officers right now. My officers don't have time to be patrolling the community, writing tickets to people shooting off fireworks. And so just have some respect for each other and for your neighborhoods. You know, save it to the day. We have lots of animals, lots of
We have a lot of veterans.
that
Folks with, you know, PTSD or anxiety.
absolutely. And so find something better to do, you know, until July 4th, and then we can all celebrate together.
Well, and I think another thing that's important is, so the fire department, I talked with Chief Huber yesterday. They're going to start their bucket brigade. So that's, you know, for fireworks safety.
Sure.
We talk a lot about folks say, hey, I want to see people ticketed. One of the main things too is we don't want to see fires.
Right.
It's dangerous. And so we'll have the bucket brigade starting. But another thing that's great in our community is we have big community fireworks events.
Right.
Something that City Council actually just sponsored, Rolling on the Riverwalk. And that's something
Best show in town.
that happens every year.
It's
Best
free.
fireworks. It's free.
Food trucks.
Right on the Riverwalk. And you can see it from everywhere in Pueblo. I know CSU Pueblo is having a big event as well. So there's places for big fireworks displays rather than buying them, lighting them off yourself, scaring your neighbors and all those things.
Starting
So,
fires.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you made that announcement.
I'll keep making it just to remind people that it's still June and not July yet. So,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, Mayor. I'm so glad we had Sarah on this morning to talk about SafeSide. Don't forget, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, YouTube, Channel 17. You can also email us your questions or topic suggestions, mayor@pueblo.us. And we'll see you next week.